it's really interesting. You're a woman business owner in the tech industry, which really breaks so many glass ceilings when we
Yeah,
think about that. And it sounds like you're also finding inspiration and are driving your own business based on some things that you see in the community.
yeah.
Has that been part of what kind of really inspired you to create your own business then? The things that you saw that were of need in the community, is that kind of what inspired you?
Well, at first it was more of being creative,
Mm.
and the way I got into technology was really through voice over IP and telecommunications
Hmm.
because I came from the contact center industry. And then we ended up taking over a help desk, service desk. And we were at the time, me and my business partner, we were going through a restructuring. And that's kind of how the evolution of Safe PC became.
Mm.
At the time, I think when you're younger, you really don't think so much about it because when I would leave work or leave the company, I'm going to hang out with my girlfriends. And it wasn't until the company started growing and I started getting invited to be on these committees and these boards and network. And then when I would go, because I'd be so excited, I would look around the room and say, oh my gosh, there's no one here like me.
Wow.
So I never really thought about it until I think more recently in my career, like, gosh, I'm showing up and there's really not a lot of people looking like me, or there's
Mhm.
probably, I mean, it's like me and maybe two other women. We would find each other by lunchtime. We would be sitting together, and we all shared the same thing in common. Like, gosh, it's hardly any of us here. And then when I got involved with the WIT network, and I was like, I got excited about that. And then, when you just start really talking to other women, that's when you realize how bad it is that you start going up into your career, and then you realize that as you go up into your career, it's not a lot of us there at that senior level.
Mm.
um when I was in my younger days, midway through, I just never thought about it. I was just like, oh, I got to get there. I got to be the
Mm.
best. I didn't even think about the hard times or the struggles, or even if I had a setback, I would just pick up my feet and keep going. It never really dawned on me. And then over the last few years, when I really started to get into some of these circles, and they were starting to send me leads, and we had picked up this client, and one of my support technicians had called me. He was on site, and he said, the management team over here, they keep talking about you. They said they didn't know Safe PC was ran by a Black woman. We didn't even know. So, and he said it was so weird. Someone asked him, well, how is it to work for her? And he had to tell her, well, I never really thought about it. I mean, I just work for her. I mean, I just know she writes my checks and she's doing something, and he just said he never really thought about it, but he could tell that the company that they were having, when he looked around the company, he said, the company's really not that diverse.
Mm.
And I go, yeah, a lot of our clients are not that, diverse. And I just think at the time we really were. I just know I wasn't paying attention as much as I do now because I'm older and the circle gets smaller and smaller. And you just say, hey, we can't allow the circle to keep getting smaller and smaller. We have to be the change.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping that the next generation will see more people like me because there was someone that impacted or help them through the process, because I'll be the first one to tell you, I mean, white men have helped me. I mean, they've been my allies. Indian men have been my allies.
Mhm.
I wouldn't be where I am today without them. So I know that the allyship exists
Mm.
because they would mentor, take me under their wing. I mean, my one of my business partners was the guru and voiceover IP. He's a Midwestern white boy from Missouri, and he trained me 10 years ago, and he did because he said, Medina, you were smart and you were hardworking, and to say that there's no allyship, that's not true. The allyship is there. It's just, I think sometimes people don't always get the access to the opportunity.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
so how do we give people more access to the opportunity? Because there are men that want to help. And so I really want to emphasize that.
Thank you for sharing that perspective. It's very honest, very candid, very inspiring as well. And as you were talking, it reminded me of the brilliant, brilliant quote by Dr. Maya Angelou that says, "A woman who is convinced that she deserves to accept only the best challenges herself to give the best, then she's
Mm.
living phenomenally." And
Mm,
that quote came into my life
that's
when I was
true.
in college. Because when I was in high school, I used to code when I was in high school. Actually, when I was
Mm-hmm.
a wee one, as the Canadians say, I was a wee one, and
Mm-hmm.
I used to code. And then somewhere between end of high school and getting into college, I lost that connection. I lost that passion for coding and building web
Mm,
pages and all, that. And how many times have we heard this story? Unfortunately, as a woman, as a Black person, as somebody that was matriculating through college, I didn't see a lot of representation of professors and folks in the classroom that looked like me. And so I was like, coding. Where's that going to take anybody, right? And so when
mm-hmm.
I was in college, I shifted my major. I got away from like more business and more computer science connected things. And I actually studied sociology and communication and became the master of
Mm,
people, the master of networking that I am today. But I often think
mm,
back to, 16-year-old Keisha and, being part of Future Business Leaders of America, building web pages. I had an internship when I was a junior in high school that was building web pages for the city of Tacoma, and for their utility. And, at some point in time, I got disconnected from that vision. And a lot of it has to do with what you were saying around representation,
mm-hmm.
seeing yourself in that industry. And I think it's so important
Yeah.
to be able to look around and see folks who look like you, who are 5, 10,
Yes.
15, 20 years further along in their career and their life.
Yes.
So there's you can't say we can never say enough about the power of mentorship, allies, career sponsors, all of that
Mm-hmm.
stuff, but anyhow, before I tangent on, so Medina, how do you
Mm-hmm.
think that you and other partners can continue to change the face of technology? And I really truly mean the face of technology, exactly what we're talking about in this conversation.
Well, I think that when the International Association of Microsoft Channel Partners really said, we're going to have this diversity and inclusion committee, we're going to put the leadership. I think that really began changing the face of technology, because it also it also started bringing the attention to African Americans and Hispanics, but it also brought the attention to the LGBTQ community as well. And right now, we're being led, the IMACP, the Diversity and Inclusion, we're being led by Christopher Cost. So I want to definitely, say hello to him, because he has really been trying to also bring that community more into the fold of technology. Um, I also feel like with the continued growth and expansion and support that Microsoft has felt for the WIT network,
Mhm.
I recently had the opportunity to talk about, my role as a leader, and really they did a whole page dedicated to women, to African African American women in technology called Living While Black for the whole month of February. And so that brought a lot of attention to African American women, and also the WIT Network is also a global organization. So we've also had people from Mexico, Colombia, Nigeria, South Africa, Haiti, India. So that's really elevating those women in those communities that have been also disproportionately represented. And then I feel like with the Black Channel Partner Alliance, what they're trying to achieve is really trying to build sustainable African American technology companies to really build what we call generational wealth.
Yes.
Because one of the challenges as an entrepreneur when you're building a business, and I'm one of the few who built it from the beginning, and you evolve different stages. One of the challenges is sustainability, and what through the Microsoft channel and the Microsoft 365 is really building that recurring model, software as a service subscription model type of business where you have monthly, recurring revenue. And with the accelerator program that they're trying to launch for the Black Channel Partner Alliance and really helping build sustainable businesses, you're going to see more African American, more women, more Hispanic, Native American, hopefully breaking more into the Asian community in terms of, I would say, the Vietnamese, Cambodian, that are a bit underrepresented in technology. So hopefully, this will help change the traditional face of technology, which has been, dominated by mainly, white and Asian Indian men. So that's where I foresee what's going on with the whole, I think the whole evolution. At first it was, let's focus on, trying to get these companies to embrace diversity and inclusion, which is important, but then also let's start developing African American and Hispanic and Asian and women-owned technology companies. And the way we change the face is that, and I think it's important for people to know, we create jobs. And when we create jobs, we often create jobs in our communities. We often create jobs for other entrepreneurs and other businesses. We also work closely with nonprofits, community leaders. It's a whole ecosystem that really gets African Americans out of what I would say systemic poverty, because we have felt systemic racism. And so that's what the whole concept of entrepreneurship does, because when you create generational wealth, then we're able to invest more into our communities, into our schools, into our families, into to everyone. And so that's really how you, in my mind, build sustainability. And I think that when you see large multi-billion technology companies say, hey, we're going to start investing in African Americans, in HBCUs, in nonprofits, in those communities, then you start building, to me, more long-term, more sustainable stability within those communities. So that will, help in some of the crime, help in some of the trauma, help in some of the just the feelings of I don't belong, where I think that people are starting to feel like, okay, this is my America. This is something that I can feel a part of, and I can see the difference and the change. I feel like right now in Atlanta, particularly with our initiative, Accelerate Atlanta University, and when a nonprofit or a community partner, they call us, we're doing our best to make sure we call them back.
Mhm.
They have the feeling like, oh, okay, Microsoft's coming to town, but guess what? They're really starting to do things in the community. And so the community's starting to feel it, the Microsoft employees feel it, but also the Microsoft partners are feeling like, okay, wait a minute. Okay, Microsoft is serious. They're doing it a bit different than
Yeah.
everybody's doing it. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I have to tell you, Amazon, Google, they've been here, they've been giving money, they've been good. But I had already invested in Microsoft, so I
Mhm.
wasn't really going those other ways. But and that's why I always tell, when I'm talking to other technology companies, particularly African American, and I say, are you a partner, or are you our supplier? Are you just a
Mhm.
vendor? What is your relationship? And
Yes.
they go, oh, well, this is what I'm doing with them now. I got paid this month, but I don't know if I'm gonna get. I said, oh, so you're not a partner? No, I'm
Mhm.
not a partner. What is a partner? And then I have to explain to them what I do and the difference. And they say, oh, I go, yes, there is a difference. So you don't want to just always be a supplier, sometime here, sometime there. You want to find an alliance and a partnership that will help you not only sustain but grow your business. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, so that's
Yeah.
that's the other thing I mean by the two-way partnership. So
Yeah.
a lot of times people come in there, oh, I just want you to buy my services. I'm like, you now, why you want them to buy your services? Why should I buy your service versus that other person? What do you do
Mhm.
better than that other company? And
Yeah.
that's how we got to change the trajectory and the mindset of some of these entrepreneurs and business owners. You got to say, like, what's your service? What's your product? Do you have a solution? Do you have something that I'm going to always do? Do you have a need? Do you have something I know my clients, not only do they need the Office 365, but they need to make sure we're training them and that we're sustaining it and it's working properly. So that's why I always tell people, are you selling a product? Are you selling the solution? Have you added all these services? Are you doing it better than the other competitor? So
Yeah.
that's the difference.
Thank you so much. This has been such an informative conversation. I love your storytelling approach and your very the balance between business tech and then the community need here has just been so important. And I just want
Yeah.
to circle back to, huge shout out to Black Channel Partner Alliance and the work that Frank and Ayasha
Yes.
are leading, bringing that coalition and alliance together, the partnership with Microsoft, as you already mentioned. There's so
Mm-hmm.
many nuggets of wisdom throughout this. So we just so appreciate your sharing. And then I also want to circle back to something else that you said in terms of this partnership. As we start talking about changing the face of technology,
Mm-hmm.
Microsoft has been looking at our own ecosystem and looking at areas of improvement. Microsoft has some work to do here, and really
Mm-hmm.
looking at our ecosystem that better represents the communities that we're in, where our partners are, which is global, right? Of
Yeah,
course.
that's
And really
true.
looking at those communities that we're in, and then looking at how do we, as Microsoft, put our money where our mouth is, really bring a solution to partners and really support the ecosystem and amazing partners such as yourself. And so, we have the Black and African American Partner Growth Initiative, and we've been looking at our own numbers and our own work over the many years. And we have a commitment, and we're seeking to grow Black and African American owned uh, um, tech businesses and representation by over
Mm-hmm.
20% in the next 3 years. And so we're going to see some real investment in dollars, time, and partnership
Yeah.
with places like BCPA to really see this work grow. And so it's through
Mm-hmm.
this partners such as yourself that we're able to inspire tech leaders to work with us as we strive to make more possible. So thank you so much, Medina, for joining us, for sharing your story, for highlighting so
Yeah.
many community programs, the city of Atlanta, the work you've been doing, mentorship, your own journey. Thank you so much for sharing
Yeah.
with us.
Well, thank you, Keisha, for having me. Thank you, Wendy. I want to thank both of you all for your hard work because I know you all are very committed. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
All right. As we wrap up, for anyone listening in the audience, for more information about the Black and African American Partner Growth Initiative, feel free to head on over and check out aka.ms backslash partner growth. Again, that's aka.ms backslash partner growth.
Awesome. Yes, thank you. So join
Thank
us
you.
again next time as we keep having these awesome discussions and conversations about how we can make more possible through things like allyship, inclusion, and inspiration. Thank you, Madinah. Thank you, everybody. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.